Ladies and gentlemen, kindness is one of the most beautiful qualities a person can possess. It reflects empathy, compassion, and strength. It is the light we bring into the world to uplift others, to mend what is broken, and to inspire those around us. Yet, in certain circumstances, kindness is misunderstood, undervalued, or even exploited. And sometimes the very people we show kindness to may respond with disrespect. This paradox leaves us questioning the fine line between being kind and being perceived as weak. The reality is that in our interactions, especially in the context of men and women, dynamics of power, expectation, and perception come into play. For some, kindness is not seen as a strength but as a vulnerability, a sign that boundaries can be crossed without consequence. This misinterpretation isn't a flaw of kindness itself, but rather a reflection of societal norms, personal insecurities, and cultural conditioning. When you are kind, you are often seen as approachable, understanding, and forgiving. While these are admirable traits, they can be misread. Some may assume that your kindness means you will tolerate poor treatment, that you will excuse disrespect, or that you will stay silent in the face of mistreatment. This is especially true in a world where assertiveness is often mistaken for authority and gentleness for passivity. Consider a scenario where you consistently show kindness to a man who disrespects you. You brush off the rude remarks, excuse the dismissive behavior, and give him the benefit of the doubt. Over time, he might see your tolerance not as a reflection of your grace, but as permission to continue his actions. He may think, if it didn't bother her before, why would it bother her now? This pattern reveals a deeper truth: boundaries are essential in ensuring that kindness is respected. Kindness without boundaries can invite exploitation, not because you are weak, but because some people test limits. By clearly defining your limits, you teach others that your kindness is a choice, not an obligation, and that it is rooted in self-respect. It's important to recognize that the issue is not your kindness, it is their perception of it. Many men, shaped by societal expectations of dominance or a lack of emotional intelligence, may see kindness as an opportunity to assert control or superiority. This does not mean kindness is a flaw, it means that it must be wielded with wisdom and clarity. One way to ensure your kindness commands respect is to pair it with confidence and self-assurance. When your actions stem from a place of inner strength, people recognize that your kindness is not a reflection of weakness, but a deliberate choice. It sends the message: I am kind because I want to be, not because I need to be. And I will not allow my kindness to be taken for granted. Another key is discernment. While kindness should be extended generously, trust should be earned. Not everyone deserves the same level of access to your empathy and care. Evaluate the character of those around you and offer your kindness in proportion to their respect for it. This doesn't mean withholding your humanity, it means protecting your energy and ensuring that your kindness is reciprocated, not exploited. There is also power in assertive communication. Expressing your feelings and setting boundaries when someone disrespects you reinforces the fact that your kindness comes with an expectation of mutual respect. You can say, I value kindness in my interactions and I expect the same in return. This clarity eliminates ambiguity and leaves no room for misinterpretation. Let us not forget that our kindness is a reflection of our values, not a response to the behavior of others. It is a testament to who we are, not who they are. However, we must be vigilant in ensuring that it does not become a tool for others to wield against us. So to those of you who have ever felt disrespected because of your kindness, I say this: do not let the actions of others make you question the beauty of your heart. Instead, let them strengthen your resolve to pair your kindness with strength, your compassion with confidence, and your generosity with wisdom. Kindness is not the problem. Misinterpretation is. And by setting boundaries, asserting your value, and discerning the character of those you interact with, you can ensure that your kindness is a force for good, not a license for disrespect. Kindness is one of the most admirable qualities a person can exhibit. It reflects warmth, generosity, and a willingness to uplift others. Yet, in the complexities of human relationships, this beautiful trait is sometimes misunderstood. In particular, it can be misinterpreted as weakness, especially in interactions where societal dynamics and power perceptions come into play. This misinterpretation isn't a flaw of kindness, but a misunderstanding of its nature by those who fail to see it as a strength. When someone is consistently kind, they may be seen as overly accommodating or unable to stand up for themselves. This happens because kindness often involves patience, forgiveness, and understanding, all of which are sometimes associated with a lack of assertiveness or self-respect. Unfortunately, some people perceive these traits as signs that a person is easy to manipulate, leading to the paradoxical outcome where kindness invites disrespect instead of appreciation. This dynamic is especially apparent in certain male-female relationships. Many men are raised in societies that place a premium on dominance, strength, and assertiveness. These cultural norms sometimes condition men to view traits like kindness, empathy, or gentleness as indicators of inferiority or submission. In this framework, someone who exhibits these traits might be seen as less assertive or less deserving of respect. This perception is misguided, of course, but it underscores how societal conditioning can distort the way kindness is viewed and valued. Imagine a scenario where a woman consistently shows kindness to a man who occasionally crosses boundaries or acts insensitively. She might let the small slight slide, believing in the importance of maintaining harmony or giving him the benefit of the doubt. Over time, he might interpret her lack of reaction as indifference or weakness rather than understanding it as a conscious choice to prioritize peace over conflict. This misinterpretation can embolden disrespectful behavior, creating a cycle where her kindness is increasingly devalued. The problem lies not in kindness itself, but in how it is perceived. Kindness requires inner strength. It takes effort and emotional maturity to empathize with others, to choose patience over anger, and to forgive instead of retaliate. However, for those who are accustomed to equating strength with dominance or aggression, this quiet strength can go unnoticed. They may see the absence of overt confrontation as an inability to confront, leading to assumptions that a kind person lacks the power to stand up for themselves. This perception is particularly dangerous when it encourages a lack of accountability. For instance, if a kind person chooses to overlook a slight or forgive a mistake without addressing it directly, the other person may conclude that their actions have no consequences. Over time, this can lead to a pattern where disrespect becomes normalized, simply because it hasn't been explicitly challenged. Kindness, therefore, must be paired with assertiveness to ensure it is understood and respected. Being kind doesn't mean avoiding conflict or tolerating unacceptable behavior. It means approaching situations with empathy while maintaining firm boundaries. When kindness is expressed with clarity and self-assurance, it becomes impossible to misinterpret it as weakness. Instead, it is recognized for what it truly is: a deliberate and powerful choice. Another contributing factor to the misinterpretation of kindness is the tendency of some individuals to test limits. People often gauge how far they can go in a relationship based on the reactions of the other party. If kindness is met with entitlement or exploitation, it is often because the other person has not encountered resistance. In these cases, the problem is not with the act of kindness, but with the lack of boundaries accompanying it. Setting clear limits sends a message that while kindness is freely given, it should not be mistaken for a lack of resolve. It's also worth considering how past experiences shape perceptions. Some men may have grown up in environments where kindness was associated with subservience. They might have seen caregivers or authority figures who were kind to a fault, sacrificing their own needs or tolerating mistreatment to keep the peace. This conditioning can lead to the flawed belief that kindness is synonymous with self-sacrifice, making it easier to disregard or disrespect those who exhibit it. To counter this, it's essential to challenge these perceptions through action. A kind person must demonstrate that their kindness is a choice, not a default. By asserting themselves when necessary, they show that their empathy and patience are strengths, not weaknesses. This helps reshape the narrative, proving that kindness is compatible with confidence and self-respect. Ultimately, the misinterpretation of kindness as weakness reflects more on the observer than on the kind individual. It reveals their own insecurities, biases, and misunderstandings about what strength truly looks like. However, as the recipient of such treatment, it is crucial to address the issue proactively. Kindness should not come at the expense of one's dignity or self-worth. In life, There will always be those who fail to appreciate the value of kindness. Yet, this should never deter anyone from embodying it. What matters is how it is expressed and protected. By pairing kindness with self-respect, clear communication, and firm boundaries, we can ensure it is both given freely and valued appropriately. And in doing so, we remind the world that kindness is not a vulnerability, but one of the greatest strengths a person can possess. Kindness, when given without boundaries, often leads to unintended consequences. While it stems from a place of generosity and goodwill, the absence of limits can sometimes invite exploitation and disrespect. It's not the kindness itself that is the problem, but the lack of clarity about how far it extends and under what circumstances. Setting boundaries is essential to ensure kindness is both respected and valued, preventing it from being mistaken for weakness or submission. When someone consistently exhibits kindness without setting limits, they may inadvertently signal to others that there are no consequences for crossing lines. This is not a reflection of their character, but of human nature. Many people, consciously or unconsciously, test boundaries in their relationships. They gauge how much they can take without being called out or confronted. If a kind person continues to tolerate disrespectful behavior without addressing it, they send a message intentionally or not that such behavior is acceptable. Over time, this can lead to a pattern of exploitation. Boundaries are the framework that supports healthy relationships. They define what is acceptable and what is not, ensuring that interactions are based on mutual respect. Without them, kindness can be misinterpreted as a lack of self-respect or an unwillingness to stand up for oneself. This is particularly true in relationships where power dynamics come into play. For example, a man who perceives a woman's kindness as limitless might start to take her for granted, assuming that her generosity will always be available regardless of his actions. The challenge lies in recognizing that boundaries are not a contradiction to kindness, but an essential complement to it. Being kind does not mean saying yes to everything or tolerating behavior that goes against your values. True kindness comes from a place of strength and self-awareness, where you can give freely without compromising your dignity or well-being. Setting boundaries is a way of saying, I care about you, but I also care about myself. One of the main reasons people struggle to set boundaries is the fear of being perceived as unkind or confrontational. They worry that saying no will make them appear selfish or uncooperative. However, this mindset overlooks the fact that boundaries are an act of self-respect and self-care. They protect you from burnout, resentment, and the emotional toll of being taken advantage of. Moreover, they teach others how to treat you, ensuring that your kindness is met with gratitude rather than entitlement. Imagine a scenario where a person consistently goes out of their way to help a friend, even at their own expense. Initially, this might be appreciated, but over time, the friend might start to expect this level of effort without reciprocation. The absence of boundaries allows this expectation to grow, turning what was once an act of kindness into a source of imbalance and frustration. By setting limits early on, such as being clear about what you can and cannot do, you establish a healthier dynamic where kindness is valued and not taken for granted. Boundaries also serve as a form of self-preservation. Constantly giving without limits can lead to emotional exhaustion and a loss of identity. When you prioritize others' needs over your own, you risk depleting your energy and losing sight of what matters to you. Setting boundaries helps you maintain a sense of balance, allowing you to give generously without compromising your mental or emotional well-being. It's important to remember that boundaries are not about creating distance or withholding kindness. They are about ensuring that kindness is sustainable and meaningful. When you set clear limits, you create a space where kindness can thrive without being overshadowed by resentment or frustration. You also demonstrate that your kindness is a conscious choice, not a result of obligation or fear. In practice, setting boundaries involves clear and assertive communication. This means being honest about your needs and expectations while remaining respectful and empathetic. For example, if someone repeatedly asks for your help without considering your time or energy, you can say, I'm happy to help when I can, but I also need to prioritize my own responsibilities. This approach reinforces your kindness while making it clear that your time and effort are not unlimited. Uh, Boundaries also require consistency. If you set a limit but fail to enforce it, others may not take it seriously. For instance, if you tell someone that a certain behavior is unacceptable but continue to tolerate it, you undermine your own authority. By standing firm in your boundaries, you show others that you respect yourself and expect the same in return. It's worth noting that some people may react negatively to your boundaries, especially if they've grown accustomed to unlimited access to your kindness. This is not a reflection of your worth, but of their inability to adapt to a healthier dynamic. In such cases, it's important to stand your ground and remember that setting boundaries is not about pleasing everyone, it's about ensuring your kindness is respected and valued. Ultimately, kindness without boundaries can lead to imbalances that harm both you and your relationships. By setting clear limits, you create a space where kindness can be expressed authentically and sustainably. You also teach others to appreciate and respect your generosity, ensuring that your kindness is met with gratitude rather than entitlement. Boundaries are not a barrier to kindness, they are the foundation that allows it to flourish. Societal and cultural conditioning plays a significant role in shaping how people perceive and respond to kindness. These ingrained beliefs often dictate how men and women are expected to behave, influencing their reactions to traits like empathy, compassion, and gentleness. While kindness is universally acknowledged as a virtue, cultural norms and societal expectations sometimes distort its interpretation, particularly in male-female dynamics. This distortion can lead to kindness being perceived not as a strength but as a weakness, inviting disrespect instead of admiration. Throughout history, many cultures have emphasized traditional gender roles, where men are expected to exhibit dominance, assertiveness, and strength, while women are often associated with nurturing, caregiving, and submission. These stereotypes, though increasingly challenged, still persist in varying degrees across societies. As a result, when women or anyone, for that matter, exhibit kindness, it is sometimes unfairly linked to these outdated notions of passivity or subservience. In this context, kindness becomes synonymous with being a pushover or someone who lacks the ability to stand up for themselves. Consider the way many boys are socialized from a young age. Phrases like "boys don't cry" or "man up" discourage emotional expression and reinforce the idea that strength lies in stoicism and dominance. At the same time, girls are often praised for being sweet, kind, and gentle. These early lessons shape how men and women perceive themselves and each other. For some men, growing up in such an environment may lead them to view kindness as a trait that is admirable but not necessarily powerful. They may unconsciously equate it with a lack of assertiveness or the willingness to endure disrespect. This conditioning often spills into adult relationships. A man conditioned to see kindness as a sign of submission may unconsciously exploit it. For example, he might push boundaries, assuming that a kind person will tolerate disrespect or avoid confrontation to maintain harmony. This behavior isn't always deliberate, but rather a reflection of societal norms that equate power with dominance and disregard the strength required to be consistently kind. Cultural narratives also play a role in shaping these perceptions. Media and storytelling often glorify characters who assert themselves through aggression or dominance while portraying kind and gentle characters as secondary or even naive. These portrayals reinforce the idea that kindness is not a quality associated with leadership or strength. As a result, individuals who embody kindness may find themselves underestimated or overlooked, particularly in settings where assertiveness is valued over empathy. Another aspect of cultural conditioning is the expectation of self-sacrifice, especially for women. In many societies, women are expected to put others' needs before their own, often at the expense of their own well-being. This expectation can make it difficult for women to set boundaries or assert themselves without feeling guilty. When kindness is combined with this expectation of selflessness, it becomes even easier for others to take advantage of it. A kind person who prioritizes others may be seen as someone who will endure mistreatment without protest, reinforcing the cycle of disrespect. At the same time, societal conditioning also affects the way people respond to kindness. In cultures that emphasize competition and individualism, kindness can be misinterpreted as a lack of ambition or drive. In such environments, being kind may be viewed as incompatible with success or strength, leading to a lack of respect for those who prioritize empathy and compassion. This is particularly true in professional settings, where assertiveness is often valued over collaboration and kindness. However, it is important to recognize that cultural conditioning is not immutable. As societies evolve, so too do the norms and expectations that shape behavior. In recent years, there has been a growing recognition of the value of kindness, empathy, and emotional intelligence. Leaders, educators, and influencers are challenging traditional notions of strength and highlighting the power of compassion in fostering meaningful connections and driving positive change. To address the issue of kindness being misunderstood as weakness, it is crucial to challenge societal and cultural norms that perpetuate this perception. This begins with education and awareness. By teaching boys and girls from a young age that kindness is a strength, not a vulnerability, we can create a culture that values empathy and respect equally in all individuals. Encouraging emotional expression and breaking down gender stereotypes helps dismantle the notion that dominance is inherently superior to compassion. In personal relationships, it is essential to challenge these conditioned beliefs through clear communication and mutual respect. For instance, when a kind person sets boundaries or asserts themselves, they demonstrate that their kindness is a choice, not an obligation. This helps reshape perceptions and ensures that kindness is recognized as a deliberate and powerful quality. In addition, representation matters. By celebrating and promoting role models who embody kindness and strength, we can challenge the cultural narratives that equate kindness with weakness. From public figures to everyday heroes, showcasing the strength inherent in empathy and compassion helps shift societal attitudes and encourages a more balanced understanding of power and respect. Ultimately, societal and cultural conditioning plays a significant role in how kindness is perceived and treated. While these norms can create challenges, they also present an opportunity for growth and change. By challenging stereotypes, redefining strength, and fostering a culture that values kindness as a powerful trait, we can ensure that it is met with respect and appreciation rather than misinterpretation. In doing so, we create a world where kindness is not only admired but also truly understood. Kindness is a remarkable quality, but when offered without discernment, it can sometimes lead to disappointment, exploitation, and a lack of appreciation. The key to ensuring that kindness is respected and valued lies in discernment, the ability to differentiate between those who genuinely appreciate and reciprocate kindness and those who exploit or take it for granted. Offering kindness indiscriminately may diminish its impact and leave the giver feeling undervalued or taken advantage of. Discernment in kindness begins with understanding that not everyone views or values kindness in the same way. Some individuals see kindness as a reflection of strength and a willingness to uplift others, while others, consciously or unconsciously, see it as an opportunity to take advantage. The difference often lies in the recipient's character and intentions. Learning to recognize these nuances ensures that kindness is extended to those who deserve it and protects the giver from unnecessary emotional harm. Consider the concept of reciprocity. In healthy relationships, whether personal or professional, kindness is met with gratitude and a desire to reciprocate. This doesn't mean that every act of kindness requires immediate payback, but there should be a mutual respect and appreciation for the effort. When kindness is extended to someone who consistently takes without giving back, it creates an imbalance that can lead to resentment and exhaustion. Discernment allows the giver to identify such patterns early on and redirect their energy toward more meaningful and rewarding interactions. One of the challenges in practicing discernment is overcoming the fear of being judged as unkind or selfish. Many people hesitate to withhold kindness, even in situations where it is undeserved, because they worry about how they will be perceived. However, discernment is not about withholding kindness altogether, it is about channeling it in ways that are constructive and beneficial. It involves recognizing that kindness is a limited resource that should be invested where it will have the greatest positive impact. For example, imagine a scenario where a coworker frequently asks for favors but never offers assistance in return. While it might feel unkind to say no, continuing to accommodate their requests without addressing the imbalance only reinforces the behavior. By practicing discernment, you can assess whether your kindness is being appreciated or merely exploited. If it's the latter, setting boundaries and redirecting your energy to more reciprocal relationships becomes an act of self-respect. Discernment also involves understanding the context in which kindness is extended. Some situations demand a level of caution to ensure that kindness is not misused. For instance, in professional settings, consistently going above and beyond without recognition can lead to burnout and a sense of being undervalued. While it is admirable to help colleagues and contribute to a positive work environment, discernment ensures that your efforts are recognized and not taken for granted. This might involve advocating for yourself, setting limits, or seeking acknowledgement for your contributions. In personal relationships, discernment plays an equally crucial role. Kindness in relationships should foster growth, mutual respect, and emotional well being. However, when extended to individuals who fail to appreciate or reciprocate it, kindness can become a source of frustration. For example, a person who constantly forgives a partner's repeated mistakes without addressing the underlying issues may find themselves stuck in a cycle of hurt and disappointment. Discernment allows individuals to recognize when their kindness is being undervalued and take steps to address the imbalance, whether through communication, setting boundaries, or reevaluating the relationship. Practicing discernment doesn't mean becoming suspicious or withholding kindness from everyone. It means developing the emotional intelligence to assess situations and individuals accurately. This includes paying attention to patterns of behavior, listening to your intuition, and being mindful of how acts of kindness are received and reciprocated. Over time, this practice helps you become more selective about where and how you invest your kindness, ensuring that it is both appreciated and impactful. One of the most empowering aspects of discernment is that it allows you to protect your emotional well-being without compromising your values. Kindness is a beautiful trait, but it should not come at the expense of your own happiness or self-respect. By being discerning, you can create relationships and environments where your kindness is valued rather than allowing it to be taken for granted. For instance, discernment might involve choosing to spend time with friends who uplift and support you rather than those who drain your energy. It might mean saying no to commitments that overwhelm you or prioritizing your own needs when necessary. These actions are not selfish, they are acts of self-care that enable you to continue being kind and generous in a sustainable way. Another important aspect of discernment is learning to balance kindness with assertiveness. Being kind does not mean avoiding confrontation or always saying yes, it means approaching situations with empathy while also advocating for your own needs and values. When kindness is paired with assertiveness, it becomes a powerful tool for fostering healthy, respectful relationships. Ultimately, discernment ensures that kindness is extended in ways that are meaningful and impactful. It helps protect the giver from being exploited or undervalued while ensuring that kindness is met with gratitude and respect. By practicing discernment, you can create a life filled with genuine connections and mutual appreciation, where your kindness is not only valued but also reciprocated. In doing so, you honor both yourself and the true spirit of kindness, ensuring that it remains a source of strength and positivity in your life. Over time, repeated acts of kindness without recognition or reciprocation can lead to deep-seated resentment. Kindness, when not appreciated or acknowledged, loses its essence, leaving the giver feeling taken for granted. While acts of kindness are often given freely, without expectation, human nature desires at least a minimal sense of appreciation or recognition in return. When that is absent, especially in repeated instances, the result can be emotional exhaustion and a buildup of resentment that damages relationships and erodes self-worth. Resentment does not arise suddenly, it builds gradually, often starting as a mild sense of frustration or disappointment. For instance, when someone consistently helps others, whether it's a friend, a family member, or a colleague, but receives little or no acknowledgement, they may start to feel undervalued. This feeling intensifies when their efforts are not only ignored but also expected, as if their kindness is an obligation rather than a gift. Over time, this dynamic creates a one-sided relationship where the giver feels drained and unappreciated. The emotional toll of such relationships can be significant. A person who repeatedly gives without acknowledgement may start to question their own worth or wonder if their kindness is being misinterpreted. They might feel that their efforts are invisible or that their value is tied solely to what they can offer others. This sense of invisibility can lead to a loss of self esteem and a reluctance to continue being kind, not just to the ungrateful individuals, but to others as well. In this way, unappreciated kindness not only damages specific relationships, but also risks diminishing the giver's overall willingness to express generosity and compassion. One of the most challenging aspects of unacknowledged kindness is the internal conflict it creates. On one hand, the giver wants to continue being kind because it aligns with their values and character. On the other hand, they struggle with the growing resentment that arises from feeling unappreciated. This tension can lead to emotional exhaustion as they grapple with the desire to maintain their kindness while also protecting their own well being. Resentment stemming from unappreciated kindness can also manifest in passive aggressive behavior, strained communication, or a gradual withdrawal from the relationship. For example, a person who feels taken for granted might stop offering help or begin to harbor negative feelings toward the recipient. In some cases, the resentment may even spill over into unrelated areas of life, affecting other relationships and overall emotional health. To prevent resentment, it's crucial to establish a balance between giving and receiving. This balance doesn't mean expecting a direct return for every act of kindness, but ensuring that the overall relationship is reciprocal. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and appreciation, where both parties contribute in their own ways. When this balance is disrupted, it's important to address the issue directly and seek solutions that restore equity. Communication is a key tool in preventing and managing resentment. Many people who feel unappreciated hesitate to speak up, fearing that they will be seen as selfish or demanding. However, expressing one's feelings in a respectful and constructive manner is essential for maintaining healthy relationships. For instance, if someone feels that their kindness is being taken for granted, they might say, "I enjoy helping you, but I also feel like my efforts aren't being recognized. It would mean a lot to me if you could acknowledge them." This approach emphasizes the importance of appreciation without placing blame or creating conflict. Setting boundaries is another important strategy for avoiding resentment. When kindness is given without limits, it often leads to burnout and frustration. By establishing clear boundaries, givers can ensure that their kindness is sustainable and that their own needs are also being met. For example, a person who frequently helps others at the expense of their own time and energy might decide to limit their availability or prioritize their own well being. This not only protects them from emotional exhaustion, but also helps others understand and respect their limits,